Hi guys, so good to see you again. It's only been a week and I'm already excited to see you. I hope you are all doing very well. I am here with a tag video that I technically have not been tagged in. However, it's an open tag, so like the creator who did this video tagged everyone basically who wants to do it, and I'm one of those everyones, so I thought I would do this tag. However, I am a little late, so this tag is for all of you who don't know what it is, and if you've not, and I assume you will have seen the title of the video. This is the Harry Potter spells tag. Now so yeah, the original creator, well, I saw this tag from Cheryl from the Candlewick Library, but the original creator of this tag, either the channel can't be found or the video can't be found, or probably both if it's the channel, but the original person was Turtle Sympathy. I don't know the real name of this creator. But Cheryl found this video from Jessie the Reader, and I saw this video from Cheryl. And for all of you who don't know, Cheryl did and has done for the past 2 years, including this year, the Back to Hogwarts reading challenge, readathon, whatever words you want to use, for September. And I can hear you saying, but isn't it October, Molly? And yes, you're right, it is October, thank you. I was technically wanting to do this in September, but then I forgot. And then when I was looking up for video ideas for this week, I saw this one and I was like, oh yes, I meant to do this tag. Oh, funny. So yeah, I apologise, Cheryl. It's a very late video, because it's not even early October. It's not like, right at the beginning. It's like the 14th, so it's very late. I apologise, but I thought I would do this tag, and you know what they say, better late than never, so that's what this is. So I hope you enjoy. Let's do this. So the first question is Expecto Patronum, and this is a childhood book that's connected to good memories. And I don't know whether that means that you remembered that you had good times whilst reading the book, like in your life as a child, or whether you enjoyed the book. So I can't answer for the first one. I don't remember, too young. But I know there is a book series I really enjoyed as a kid. It's one that I've mentioned reasonably recently, and that is the Tiara Club books. This is the first one. This one is Princess Charlotte and the Birthday Ball. These are very young children's chapter books, and you can tell by the size of the writing, and it also has illustrations. This is a little bit of a spoiler. I read this month in October, so you'll be hearing my thoughts on that, but I definitely loved this series as a kid, so I do have good memories because of that, so I think I said that counts, because otherwise I cannot remember. That was too long ago for me to have good memories with books, so yeah. Question 2 is Expelliarmus, and that is a book that took you by surprise, and that is actually very apt for this tag. I'm going to pick Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling, because I loved the films as a kid / teenager, but I could never get into the books, no matter how hard I tried as a kid with the first one and the third one. I think we tried, and probably the second one. I just couldn't get into them. I either wasn't interested, or maybe I just found it a lot because a lot of the sentences were quite long, I'm not sure. Either way, I just couldn't get into it. But I tried the first book. Was it for the last readathon for Back to Hogwarts? I think it was. I think I read it last year around this time, probably in September, for the first time, and I actually finished it, and I actually enjoyed it. So I would say this, because that did take me by surprise. I didn't expect to enjoy it, really. So I'm gonna pick this one. Obviously, there's loads of other books that also take me by surprise, but that's the one I'm gonna go with. Question 3 is Prior Incantato, and that is the last book you read, and actually that was this one. I am currently reading 2 other books, but I've not finished them, and I'm assuming that the last book read means the last book you read and finished. So I'm going to go with the Princess Charlotte and the Birthday Ball book. Oh, and the author is Vivian French, because I didn't mention that before. But yeah, I'm going to say this one. If you want to know which books I'm currently reading but have not finished yet, one of them I have very nearly finished, but I just haven't had the chance to finish it, and that is Anne of Ingleside by Ellen Montgomery. A book I was supposed to have read last month in September, but didn't get around to it. So I've nearly finished this one. As you can see from where the bookmark is, there's very little left. For like 50 pages or something like that. So that is my last book I actually read. And also the Morbid Taste for Bones book by Ellis Peters, which is the first book in the Chronicles of Brother Cadfael. These 2 are the last books I have technically read, just not finished. But if you want to know which one I actually finished, it was Princess Charlotte. So yeah, that's those. Question 4 is Alohamora, and this is a book that got you into a genre that you hadn't considered before. And loads of books are like that, because as a child and / teenager, I probably stuck with similar genres. I was really into my sort of YA fantasy about vampires, like Twilight, the Morganville vampires. House of Night, I think, is another vampire one. So those were books I read a lot as a high schooler. But the one I'm going to go pick with isn't really a genre, but it's a subcategory that has multiple genres in that category, and that is Christian fiction in general. So that includes, Christian suspense, Christian romance, Christian fiction, like generally, all of that stuff. And the first book that introduced me to it, that I actually read, was And the Shofar Blew by Francine Rivers. This was my first ever Christian fiction. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry, that's not actually true. There is a book by Valerie Bodden, I think is her name. Can't remember. I'll try and look for it and put a picture up. And actually, that is my first book. And that was called Not Until Forever. That was my first Christian fiction. I apologise. But Francine Rivers was my second and better than Not Until Forever, in my opinion. But yeah, I forgot about that one. Whoops. So yeah, Not Until Forever is technically my first Christian fiction. So yeah, I would say that one. In terms of other actual genres that are either Christian or non-Christian, there's way too many. I could say any Georgette Hale book. I can't remember which one was my first. But that one for like clean Regency romances. All sorts. Question 5 is Riddikulus, a funny book you read. And I find a lot of the books I read have funny parts in them. So it's not easy to pick. But I decided to go with one that I most recently remember reading that I remember laughing out loud. There could be other books that I have read more recently than this book I'm going to show you, but I can't remember, so I'm just going to go with one I know for definite, and that is Trash of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I remember laughing out loud with this, so I would pick that one. Question 6. Sonorus. A book you think everybody should know about. And I've had similar questions like this before, and I have said then, and I will say now, that does very much depend on the person. Just because I think it's a really good book doesn't mean other people will. So I never really know what book to pick. But I'm gonna go with a book I have mentioned before, and that is Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. Obviously the Bible in general takes over that, obviously, but in terms of actual fiction, in general, which is also Christian, Pilgrim's Progress is Christian fiction, and probably a classic in that respect, and one of the first, if not the first, I wouldn't know, but I would pick that one. I think every Christian in particular anyway should read it, or at least know about it, so yeah, I would pick that one. 7. Obliviate. A book or spoiler you would like to forget to have read. And there's 2 different books. It would be cool to forget Trash of the Emerald Sea and reread that. But in terms of actual spoilery, cool twist sort of thing, I would actually pick The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. This was my first ever Agatha Christie, and it blew me away. I 100% recommend this. I still think about it now, and I read it months ago, and whilst I would still I'm sure I would still love this book. What happens in this book, you can't unread that. So to be able to forget and then read it again, I would lose it all over again. So yeah, I definitely would pick this one, and I recommend it if you want to get into Agatha Christie. Read this one. It is in the middle of Hercule Poirot, but there's nothing in it that is really massively spoilery in that respect, or confusing in terms of people he's met before. There is a character he knows that turns up, but it's a very small amount of turning up in the book, and it's not enough for you to necessarily feel like you need to have read the others. I mean, obviously it's always better because you get to see the background and the, duration of their relationship or friendship to, continue or whatever. But you don't need to do that to read this book. Because I haven't. That was my first ever, and it didn't impact anything. It was fine to read. Okay, 8. Imperio. A book you had to read for school, and there's a few. But the one I'm going to pick is Purple Hibiscus, and I don't want to say the name of the author because I know I'm going to butcher her name. But she's a famous author. She's written a lot of famous books. I think she wrote Americana, if I remember, or the title that's very similar to that. I can't remember if it actually is Americana. I'll check and I'll write down whether I was correct. But either way, because that could have been a different author actually, but I don't think so. But Purple Hibiscus, that was one I read for school. It's a really good book. Has some hard topics, but from what I remember, it wasn't too bad for me to read at the time. I was in high school, probably in the older end of high school, but I enjoyed it. It was a really good read, despite the topics. Okay, 9. Crucio, a book that was painful to read. There could be a lot of books. It depends on the topic and how much of a topic is in there. In terms of ones I've actually read, I'm going to have to go for The Wartime Book Club by Kate Thompson. I just read that, last month / the beginning of this month. If you see my September wrap up, you'll see me talk about it. I would say that one. because as the title suggests, it's set in during the war, World War II. So there are some hard topics of, just being under occupation, because it's set in Jersey whilst it was occupied by the Nazis, as well as other things in terms of how people are treated, and just all of it is related to the hardships of being, at war and under occupation. So I would say that one. And then number 10, the last question, is Avada Kedavra, a book that could kill, and you can interpret that as you will. And I had one book in my head the entire time, because I recently read it, if that helps. And whilst things can make you feel like, you've been killed emotionally, sort of thing, like with sad books or whatever, this one I'm going to go with a little bit more of a literal sense of killing. And I could get it out, you are right, but I can't be bothered, because under a pile of books, and it's in a little box, like when you get a box set of books, I still keep it in the box, so I just can't be bothered trying to get it out. And I'm sure most of you who've seen my recent videos are not going to be surprised, but I'm going to go with The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. If you know, it is a 517 page book, so 517. It is thick, it is a big book, and I'm pretty sure that if you swung that book hard enough, you could probably kill someone, or at least that would be the accessory to murder, because you'd hit them and they'd hit the floor and then die because they had hit the floor. Like, it's that thick. Although it is surprisingly light for a book that big. I mean, it's not light because it's a thick book, but for the amount of pages and how thick it is, it's lighter than you would expect, or at least it was for me. But yeah, you could still probably kill someone with that, so I'm gonna go with that one. And I wish I could show it you physically, but I think if any of you know what it looks like physically, you don't need me to. And if you do want to see it physically, it's also in my September wrap up, so you'll be able to see it then. I'll link it up in the card, because I've mentioned a couple of books that are in that. So yeah, Ballad of the Songbirds of Snakes and Snakes is definitely a book that could kill. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. And that is all of the questions for the Harry Potter spells tag. Thank you to Jessie the reader and what was it? Whoever the original creator was. There we go. Right. Turtle Simply. I knew it was an animal. I just couldn't remember what. So yeah, thank you to Turtle Sympathy for creating this, and then obviously to Jessie the reader and Cheryl, especially because I've watched Cheryl's one. For this tag, it's a very interesting one. I don't know, because it's not actually back to Hogwarts anymore for Cheryl's readathon. I'm not going to tag anyone, but if you want to do this, even though we're not in the readathon time, which is partly my own fault for myself, then please do. I'll leave the questions in the description box. But if you don't want to do a video, why don't you answer some, if not all of the questions in the comments? I would love to know your thoughts on what you would pick. And yeah, that's it. As I'm filming this, I'm hoping that I will have my September vlog out soon. I still need to edit it, but I'm going to hopefully do that today. So hopefully that will be out sometime this week before Saturday, which is my normal upload. For those of you who don't know, I have started trying to do a general monthly vlog if I can. So that is like an extra video that I tried to do early on in the next month, but I just didn't get around to it this month yet. So yeah, that will be up shortly. In terms of when I'm filming this for you guys, it should already be out. But yes, other than that, present to me, we'll see you next week. Bye. God bless.